welcome to your sleep story. I'm so glad you're here tonight. Whatever this day was, however long it felt, however much it carried, it is behind you now, completely behind you. You made it through, and that is everything. So let's begin. Before I take you anywhere tonight, I want to count you down from 10 to 1. And as I count, I want you to allow yourself to sink just a little deeper into wherever you are right now. Feel the weight of your body. Feel what is beneath you, holding you. And with each number, just let go a little more. 10. Allow your eyes to close, gently, completely. There is nothing you need to see right now. 9. Feel your shoulders and let them drop as far as they want to go. 8. A slow breath in through the nose. 7. And all the way out. 6. Your hands. Feel them opening. Whatever you've been holding today, you can put it down now. 5. Your jaw is soft. Your face is soft. 4. Your legs are heavy, warm. 3. You're drifting, not asleep yet, but moving that way. 2. The day is behind you, completely and entirely behind you. 1. And now, tonight's sleep story, the relaxation. Before we go anywhere, I want to stay here with you for a moment. Just here, just now, because this moment, this exact moment right now, where you are lying in the quiet, deserves a little attention, a little kindness. Take a breath in for me, from the very bottom of the belly. Good. And let it go. And as you breathe out, I want you to imagine that everything you were carrying today, every worry, every unfinished thought, every heavy thing is just leaving with that breath, just drifting away. You don't have to solve anything tonight. You don't have to figure anything out. You don't have to be anything other than exactly what you are right now. A person who deserves rest. A person who deserves sleep. Because you do. You really do. Whatever happened today, however hard it felt, however much it carried, you made it through. You are here. And that is enough. That is more than enough. You are safe. And you are here. Bring your awareness gently to your feet now. Just notice them and allow them to soften. The toes uncurling, the arches releasing. All the small held tension of the day simply letting go. Let that softness travel upward, through the calves, through the knees, the thighs. All of it warm, all of it heavy, all of it resting now. Your lower back, your hips. Allow yourself to feel the surface beneath you taking your weight completely, fully. You don't have to hold yourself up anymore. The earth has you. The desert has you. The belly soft. The chest soft. The heart beating steadily as it always has, as it always will. Your shoulders dropping, your arms heavy and warm, your hands open and still, the neck long and loose, and your face, let the jaw go. Let the forehead smooth. Let the eyes be completely still behind their lids. There you are, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, completely soft, completely warm, completely at rest. You've done beautifully. Now, let me take you somewhere the mountains turn the color of warm bread in the last hour of light, and the air carries the smell of date palms and wood smoke, and something sweet simmering slowly over coals, and a whole village built entirely from the earth beneath it. Walls the color of the hills, roofs the color of the sand, settles the way it has settled for hundreds of years into the long, unhurried hush of evening. Come with me, the road into the interior. Imagine a road in Oman, not the coast, with its bright modern cornices and its blue harbor light, but the interior, inland, where the land rises in folds of bare ochre rock, where the Hajar Mountains stand against the sky in long ridges the color of rust and clay, and where, tucked into the narrow green seams between the mountains, the old villages still stand, built from the same earth that surrounds them, almost invisible against the hillsides until you are close enough to see the doorways. It is late afternoon, the particular hour when the desert heat, which by midday presses down on everything like a held breath, begins, finally, to loosen its grip, the light turning from white to gold, the shadows of the date palms growing long and soft across the dust, the first cooler air beginning to move down from the higher wadis. The road narrows as it leaves the wider gravel plain and begins to climb, following the line of a dry riverbed, a wadi dust pale and stone-strewn for most of the year, though here and there a thread of water still moves, slow and clear, between smooth boulders, feeding somewhere ahead. The green you can already begin to smell on the air. Date palms, their fronds catching the low sun, their shade falling in long, regular stripes across the narrow terraced gardens beneath them, where rows of alfalfa and small vegetable plots grow in the cool, irrigated dark beneath the palms' high canopy, and then, gradually, rising out of this narrow green valley, the village itself comes into view, a cluster of buildings the same color as the mountains behind them, walls of sun-dried mud brick, the color of warm bread, of clay, of the earth itself, stacked in close, irregular terraces up the lower slope of the hillside, flat roofs, overlapping flat roofs, narrow lanes threading between them in shadow. You leave the road. You walk the last distance on foot, along a path worn smooth by centuries of feet before yours. The first wall you reach is old, genuinely old, not old in the way a building might be called old after 30 or 40 years, but old in the way that this whole region measures age, where mud brick walls like this one have stood, rebuilt, and replastered countless times by countless patient hands. For 200 years, 300 years, in some parts of this country, considerably longer still. You reach out and touch it. The surface is rough beneath your palm, slightly grainy, still holding, even now in the day's cooling hour, a faint residual warmth from the afternoon sun it has absorbed, the particular thermal patience of mud brick, which takes the whole long day to warm through, and then releases that warmth slowly, gradually, long after the sun itself has dropped behind the mountains. This is the entire secret of why these villages were built this way and have lasted this way for so many centuries. Mud brick, a simple mixture of clay-rich soil, water, and straw, shaped by hand into blocks and dried slowly in the sun rather than fired in a kiln, is, in this particular climate, very close to a perfect building material. It is cheap, requiring nothing more than the earth already beneath the builder's feet. It is locally available everywhere across this dry, mountainous interior, and it possesses a thermal quality that no imported material has ever quite matched in this specific environment. Thick mud walls absorb the brutal heat of the day slowly, keep interiors notably cooler through the worst of the afternoon, and then release that stored warmth gradually through the cold desert night, when temperatures in these mountain valleys can drop, even after the fiercest of summer days, by 20 degrees or more. The wall beneath your hand has done this faithfully for longer than anyone now living in this village can entirely account for. You walk on, following the lane as it curves between the close-set walls, deeper into the village's shaded heart. The lanes of this village are narrow enough in places that your shoulders could nearly brush both walls at once. And they wind in a pattern that seems, at first, almost without logic, turning and doubling back, rising in shallow steps, narrowing further still before opening, unexpectedly, into a small, irregular square shaded by a single old neem tree. But the pattern is not without logic. It is, in fact, an old and carefully considered logic. These narrow, winding lanes, designed across many generations of accumulated practical wisdom to do exactly what they are doing right now, in this particular hour, holding shade. The high mud walls on either side block the low afternoon sun almost entirely, the lanes themselves remaining in a deep, cool shadow long after the open ground beyond the village has surrendered fully to the day's glare. And the narrow channels between the buildings funnel whatever faint breeze exists down through the village's heart, cooling the air that moves through them in a way no wider, more modern street ever quite manages. You walk slowly along this shaded lane. Somewhere ahead, you can hear the village beginning to wake into its evening rhythm. A soft murmur of voices, the rhythmic, unhurried sound of someone sweeping a doorstep, the distant complaint of a goat being led home for the night. And there ahead of you, where the lane opens toward a low doorway carved with a simple, weathered geometric pattern, a figure, an old man, seated on a low wooden stool just outside his doorway, a string of prayer beads moving slowly, almost absent-mindedly, between his fingers, watching the lane's late afternoon traffic with the particular unhurried attentiveness of someone who has watched this exact lane at this exact hour for the greater part of his life. You walk toward him, Salim. His name is Salim. He is 81 years old, and he has lived his entire life in this one village, in this one house. A house his own grandfather built by hand from the same earth that still surrounds it, and that his own father later expanded, brick by brick, room by room, as the family itself slowly grew. He was born in the room just behind the doorway where he now sits. He raised his own children in the rooms above it, and he expects, without any particular sorrow or anxiety about the matter, simply as a quiet, settled fact, to die in this same house, surrounded by these same mud walls that have sheltered 4 generations of his family before him. He nods to you slowly as you pass, not the brief, distracted nod of someone preoccupied with other things, but the full, unhurried acknowledgement of someone for whom this particular hour, sitting in his doorway, watching the lane settle into evening, is itself the whole and sufficient point of the day, not something to be rushed past on the way toward some other, more important task. You sit, if you'd like, on the low stone bench beside his doorway. He does not seem to mind the company. The house, let me describe Salim's house to you, because the particular architecture of these old Omani village homes carries within it centuries of patient, accumulated wisdom about how to live well in a hot, dry climate, using only the materials the land itself provides. The walls, as you have already felt, are thick, often 60 centimeters or more, built up in successive courses of sun-dried mud brick, each brick roughly the size of 2 cupped hands, shaped by hand from a mixture of clay soil, straw, and water, left to dry slowly in the sun for several days before being set into place with a mortar made from the very same mixture. The roof is flat, made from closely laid palm trunks and woven palm frond matting, covered over with a thick layer of packed mud and small stones. The whole structure sloped almost imperceptibly to one corner, where a simple stone spout allows the rare but occasionally fierce winter rains to drain away rather than pooling and slowly softening the roof's mud surface. The windows are small, deliberately, carefully small, set high in the walls, sometimes fitted with simple carved wooden screens, admitting just enough light and air to make the interior rooms livable, while keeping out the worst of the day's direct heat and glare. And at the center of the house, as in so many traditional homes across this region, an open inner courtyard, unroofed, the sky visible directly overhead. The courtyard floor often planted with a single date palm or a small fig tree, its shade falling at different hours of the day across different parts of the open space below. This courtyard is, in many ways, the true heart of Salim's house, the place where the family has always gathered in the cooler hours of morning and evening, where meals are taken, where children have played across 4 generations, where, on warm summer nights, mattresses are sometimes carried up to the flat roof, so the whole family can sleep beneath the open desert sky. You step, with Salim's quiet gesture of invitation, through the low doorway and into this courtyard now. The courtyard AT this hour. The courtyard at this particular hour holds a soft, gathering shade, the single date palm at its center. Old, its trunk thick and deeply ridged, its fronds high overhead, catching the last direct gold of the sun, while the courtyard floor beneath has already settled into a cool, blue-gray shadow. Sways very slightly in whatever faint evening breeze has begun to move down from the higher wadi behind the village. A low woven mat covers part of the packed earth floor, and on it, a simple brass coffee pot, a dala, its long curved spout and pointed lid catching what light remains, sits beside a small charcoal brazier where a few embers glow, low and steady, beneath a blackened pot of something simmering slowly. Salim's wife, whose name is Aisha, kneels beside this brazier, tending it with the unhurried attention of someone who has tended fires exactly like it for more than 50 years. She glances up as you and Salim enter, offers a small, warm nod of welcome, and returns to her work, turning, occasionally, the contents of the simmering pot, adding, every so often, a small pinch of something from a worn cloth pouch beside her. The smell reaches you slowly, layered and complex. Wood smoke first, the particular dry, sweet smoke of acacia wood, the kind these mountain villages have always burned for cooking. Beneath it, something earthier dates, perhaps, slow cooked, their sugars beginning to caramelize gently over the low coals. And beneath that, fainter still, the warm, slightly bitter aroma of roasting coffee beans. Somewhere nearby, the particular Omani preparation that blends cardamom into the grounds, producing a fragrance unlike coffee almost anywhere else in the world. You breathe it in. This is the smell of an Omani village evening. The water before the evening meal, before the coffee. There is, in this village, as in so many across this dry interior, a particular and very old relationship with water that deserves your attention. The village exists entirely because of a system called the Aflaj, an ancient network of channels, some of them dug more than 1,000 years ago, that carries water by gravity alone from a spring high in the mountains behind the village, down through a long, carefully engineered course of stone-lined channels into the village itself, where it is distributed according to a precise and carefully maintained schedule among the different families and gardens that depend on it. You can hear it now, faintly, somewhere beyond the courtyard wall. A steady, soft murmur of moving water, the Falaj channel running along the base of the lane outside, carrying its cool mountain water down through the village toward the palm gardens below. This system of water sharing is governed by rules so old and so carefully maintained across so many generations that some of the Aflaj in this region are now recognized by international heritage organizations as among the oldest continuously functioning irrigation systems anywhere on Earth. Each family's allotted time to draw water, sometimes a particular hour of a particular day, sometimes a more complex rotating schedule across a full week or month, has traditionally been measured in the absence of mechanical clocks by the movement of the sun across carved sundials set into the channel's stone walls, or at night by the steady, patient burning of a length of rope or a bowl of water with a small hole, releasing its contents at a known, reliable rate. Salim's own family has held a particular allotted share of this water, passed down and carefully recorded across many generations, for longer than anyone can precisely date. It is this water, carried down from the mountain spring through this same ancient channel, that fills the small clay jar resting now in the corner of the courtyard, that irrigates the date palms whose shade you are sitting beneath, that will, in a few minutes, be added to the pot simmering over Aisha's low brazier. You listen to it, moving steadily past, just beyond the wall. The evening meal, BGINS. Aisha rises, finally, from her place beside the brazier and crosses the courtyard to a low wooden chest set against the far wall. From it, she lifts a woven basket of dates. Small, dark, glossy, the particular variety this region has cultivated for so many centuries that distinct local names exist for dozens of different cultivars, each prized for slightly different qualities of sweetness, texture, and keeping. She sets the basket on the low mat, beside a small brass tray holding several tiny porcelain cups, and gestures with the same unhurried warmth Salim showed you at the doorway for you to help yourself. This dates offered before any formal meal, alongside coffee, or sometimes a simple glass of water, is one of the oldest and most carefully observed traditions of Omani hospitality, a gesture extended, without exception, to any guest who crosses a threshold, whether expected or entirely unannounced. You take one. It is soft, dense, intensely sweet, carrying a faint caramel depth that no imported, mass-produced date quite achieves. The particular flavor of fruit grown slowly in mineral-rich mountain soil, watered by the same ancient channel that has fed this exact grove of palms for longer than living memory extends. Salim watches you taste it, and something in his weathered face softens, very slightly, into quiet satisfaction. This is, in its own modest way, exactly the kind of moment his family's house has offered to travelers and neighbors alike, for as long as it has stood. The bread, from somewhere inside the house, a new and different smell begins to reach the courtyard. Something warmer, simpler, faintly smoky. Salim's daughter-in-law, a woman named Mariam, appears in the low doorway leading from the courtyard into the kitchen, carrying a wide, flat round of bread, still faintly steaming, set on a woven palm leaf tray. This is Cub's rakak, or something close to it, a thin, almost paper-light flatbread, cooked in moments on a heated metal dome called a saj. The dough stretched and turned with a speed and dexterity that comes only from many thousands of careful repetitions across many years. Mariam learned this particular skill from Aisha, who learned it, in turn, from her own mother-in-law in this same kitchen, on a sage that has itself been replaced only twice across the better part of a century, each time by an almost identical model. The underlying technique passed down essentially unchanged. She sets the bread on the mat beside the dates, tears a piece for herself, almost without thinking, the gesture entirely automatic after so many years, and settles onto a low cushion near her mother-in-law, the two women falling into a quiet, easy conversation about the day's small events. A neighbor's visiting cousin, a goat that wandered further up the wadi than usual, the particular quality of this week's dates compared to last year's harvest. You tear a small piece of the bread. It is warm, slightly chewy, carrying the faint, smoky char of the hot metal dome it was cooked on, entirely unlike any bread you might find somewhere far from this particular kitchen, this particular flame. The GOATS come home. A sound rises from somewhere beyond the courtyard wall. The soft, irregular clatter of small hooves on packed earth, accompanied by a low, contented bleating, and a young voice, light and unhurried, calling out something in the local dialect. This is Khalid, Salim's youngest grandson, perhaps 9 or 10 years old, returning from the higher slopes above the village with the family's small flock of goats. 6 of them, lean and sure-footed, accustomed to picking their way along narrow mountain paths in search of whatever sparse, tough vegetation grows among the rocks at this dry season of the year. He guides them, without any particular urgency, through the narrow lane and into a small stone-walled pen built against the outer wall of the house, securing the simple wooden gate behind them with the same practiced, unhurried competence his father and grandfather demonstrated at exactly his age. The goats settle quickly, several of them lying down almost immediately in the pen's shaded corner, their day's modest grazing work complete. Khalid himself appears a moment later in the courtyard doorway, dusty, his hair tousled by a day spent largely outdoors, and crosses immediately to where his grandfather sits, settling onto the mat beside him with the easy, unself-conscious closeness of a child entirely secure in his place within this particular family, this particular house. Salim's hand moves, almost without thought, to rest briefly on the boy's shoulder. Some gestures of affection require no particular words. The MOUNTAINS, at this hour, if you look up now, beyond the courtyard's high mud walls, toward the wider sky above the village, you will see the mountains themselves beginning their own slow, daily transformation. The Hajar Range, rising steeply behind this small cluster of buildings, has held, through the long heat of the afternoon, a pale, bleached, almost colorless quality, bare rock under a white sky, offering little to look at beyond its own stark geological severity. But now, as the sun lowers toward the western horizon, something changes. The rock begins to warm, first a faint amber, then deepening gradually into a rich, burnished gold. And finally, in the last minutes before the sun disappears entirely behind the furthest ridge, into a deep, glowing rust red, the whole mountain range seeming, for these brief minutes, lit from within rather than simply reflecting the day's fading light. This is the hour Omanis in these mountain villages have always called, in their own quiet, unofficial way, the hour the mountains remember they are made of fire. A poetic local description for a phenomenon that has, in fact, a fairly simple geological explanation. These mountains are composed substantially of ophiolite, a type of rock formed originally from ancient oceanic crust, rich in iron and other minerals that catch and intensify the warm tones of low-angle sunlight in a way pale limestone or granite mountains elsewhere rarely achieve quite so dramatically. Salim, beside you, glances up at this same display with the quiet, unhurried appreciation of someone who has watched it in some form on perhaps 25 or 30,000 separate evenings across his long life, and has never once, by his own account, grown entirely used to it. Every evening, he says, in the unhurried local dialect, gesturing toward the glowing ridge, the mountain does this same thing. And every evening, it is somehow new. You sit with him and watch the light continue its slow descent, the call to prayer, as the light over the mountains begins its final deepening toward dusk. A new sound rises across the village, clear, unhurried, carrying easily across the close-set rooftops and narrow lanes. The call to prayer, sung from the village's small mosque, its modest minaret rising just above the surrounding roofline. The voice of the muezzin carrying the same ancient melodic pattern that has marked this particular hour. In villages exactly like this one, across this entire region, for well over 1,000 years. Around the courtyard, the evening's activity pauses briefly in quiet acknowledgement. Salim rises slowly from his stool, his old joints moving with the careful, deliberate caution of long habit rather than any particular discomfort, and makes his way toward a low basin set near the courtyard's outer wall, where he performs, with the same unhurried, practiced precision he brings to everything else in his day, the ritual washing that precedes prayer. Aisha and Mariam continue their own quiet work at the brazier for a few moments longer, before also pausing, setting aside their tasks, and moving toward a small room off the courtyard set aside in this house, as in countless others across the village, specifically for this daily rhythm of prayer. You remain, if you'd like, quietly in the courtyard beneath the date palm, listening to the call continue its unhurried ancient melody, echoed faintly by similar calls rising from 2 or 3 other small mosques scattered across the wider valley, their voices overlapping very slightly, creating, for these few minutes, a soft, layered harmony across the whole darkening landscape. This is one of the oldest sounds this particular valley has ever known. It asks nothing of you tonight beyond simply listening. The light changes by the time prayer concludes, and the family quietly returns to the courtyard. The light has shifted again. The mountains have lost their earlier burning gold, settling now into a deep, soft violet gray. The sky directly above beginning, very faintly, to show its first scattered stars at the eastern edge, where true darkness has already arrived, even while the western horizon still holds a thin, fatting band of amber. Someone Khalid, most likely, moving with the easy competence of a child long trained in small household tasks, lights the first lamp of the evening, a simple oil lantern hung from a wooden bracket near the courtyard's inner doorway. Its warm, soft, slightly flickering light beginning to push back gently against the gathering dusk. The brazier's coals glow a little brighter now against the deepening shadow. The pot above them still simmering its slow, patient way toward the evening meal. Aisha returns to her place beside it, lifting the lid briefly to check the contents. A rich, fragrant stew, you can now tell from the smell alone, of slow-cooked meat and dried lime, and a blend of warm spices this whole region has traded in and cooked with for many centuries, since long before the modern borders of this country were drawn. The smell deepens the courtyard's whole atmosphere, warm and savory beneath the day's lingering dust and wood smoke, and the date palms' faint green sweetness overhead. You settle back against the cool mud wall behind you and let the evening continue its own unhurried way around you. The history of mud brick villages. Let me tell you something about how villages exactly like this one came to exist across this particular landscape. Because the history, like the architecture itself, carries a depth that deserves a little patient attention. For many thousands of years, the interior of Oman, this dry, mountainous land squeezed between the high Hajar Range and the vast, hostile emptiness of the desert beyond, has presented a particular and demanding challenge to anyone hopping to live here permanently. How to build shelter in a landscape almost entirely without timber, without abundant stone in most areas, and under a sun fierce enough for much of the year to make poorly designed buildings genuinely uninhabitable through the worst of the daytime heat. The answer arrived at independently and refined across countless generations in villages scattered throughout this entire region was the same one Salim's ancestors settled on. Build with the earth itself. Mud brick architecture of exactly this kind. Thick walls, flat roofs, small high windows, narrow shaded lanes, central open courtyards, developed across many centuries of patient trial and accumulated practical wisdom into a building tradition remarkably well suited to this specific climate, requiring no material that could not be found within a short walk of the building site itself, and producing structures that, properly maintained, could last not merely decades, But, as you have already felt in the wall outside, several centuries, villages like this one grew, typically, around exactly the resource Salim's family still depends on today: a reliable water source, usually a mountain spring, channeled by a fallage system into the village and its surrounding gardens, the settlement itself growing organically, generation by generation, family by family. Each new house added wherever space and water allocation allowed, producing the particular winding, seemingly haphazard lane pattern you walked through earlier. A pattern that is not, in fact, haphazard at all, but the accumulated, logical result of many generations of careful, practical decisions about shade, water access, and family proximity. Salim's own family history within this village, while not unusual by local standards, nonetheless carries the kind of layered, accumulated continuity rarely found in newer, more transient communities. His house, his name, his particular allotted share of the fallage water, his family's small terraced garden plot below the village. All of it inherited, all of it maintained across a span of generations that stretches back well beyond anything written down, into a past that exists now mostly as oral memory, passed carefully from grandparent to grandchild, exactly as it is being passed in small, unconscious ways to young Khalid even now, simply through the accumulated experience of growing up within these same walls. The evening meal, the meal when it finally arrives, is simple and shared. A large communal platter is set on the mat at the courtyard center. Rice, fragrant with the same warm spices that have been filling the courtyard's air for the past hour, topped with the slow-cooked meat from Aisha's simmering pot, tender enough to fall apart at the lightest touch of a hand. The family gathers around it without any particular formality. Salim easing himself down onto a cushion near the platter's head. Aisha and Maryam settling on either side. Khalid dropping cross-legged beside his grandfather with the boundless, easy flexibility of a child's body. And a place, unhesitatingly, made for you as well, at the platter's edge. There is, in this gesture, nothing remarkable by this family's own standards. Simply the entirely ordinary, centuries-old practice of Omani village hospitality, where a guest, known or unknown, expected or unexpected, is offered a place at the table as a matter of course rather than special occasion. The meal proceeds unhurried, eaten by hand in the traditional manner. Small balls of rice and meat formed and eaten with practiced, easy movements. Conversation flowing quietly around you in the local dialect, occasionally slowing kindly into simpler words or gestures when something needs explaining to you specifically. Khalid recounts, with the particular animated enthusiasm of a 9-year-old, some minor adventure from his day on the higher slopes. A fox glimpsed briefly among the rocks, a particularly stubborn goat that required considerable persuading. Salim listens with quiet, evident pleasure. occasionally offering a brief, dry comment that sends a small ripple of laughter around the platter. This is, in its essential character, an entirely ordinary evening meal for this family, and it is, in its own quiet way, extraordinary. Coffee and dates. When the meal concludes and the platter is cleared, Aisha returns, finally, to the brass coffee pot that has been resting, patient, and largely forgotten at the brazier's edge throughout the meal. She lifts it now, the long curved spout catching the lamplight, and pours a small measure into one of the tiny porcelain cups. No more than a few careful sips worth, in the traditional Omani manner, where the cup is filled only partially, and the host refills it again and again, for as long as the guest cares to continue. The coffee itself, when it reaches you, carries a flavor unlike coffee almost anywhere outside this particular region. Lightly roasted, pale golden brown rather than dark, infused generously with cardamom, the bitterness of the bean balanced by the spice's warm, slightly sweet fragrance. It is offered alongside more dates and a small dish of halwa, a dense, fragrant sweet made from sugar, ghee, and a blend of spices, including saffron and rosewater, slow cooked for hours over exactly the kind of low, patient coals still glowing in the brazier beside you. A treat traditionally prepared for guests and special occasions across this entire region. Salim sips his own small cup slowly, his prayer beads resting, momentarily forgotten, in his lap. His attention turned instead toward the darkening sky above the courtyard, where the stars have now fully emerged, scattered in the particular dense, undimmed abundance only available in places genuinely far from any city's competing light. In the city, he says, after a long, comfortable silence, gesturing upward, you cannot see this anymore. Too much light. Here, he pauses, a faint, contented smile crossing his weathered face. Here, the sky still belongs to itself. You look up with him and let the silence continue. The rooftop, as the evening deepens further, and the courtyard's lamp burns lower, Khalid rises and disappears briefly through a narrow stairway in the corner of the courtyard, returning a few minutes later to report, with evident satisfaction, that the rooftop mattresses are ready. This is, in summer months especially, a long-standing tradition in houses exactly like this one, when the day's accumulated heat makes the interior rooms uncomfortably warm even after sunset, and the night air on the open rooftop, by contrast, carries a cool, clean freshness. Families across this whole region have long preferred to carry simple cotton mattresses up onto their flat roofs and sleep there instead, beneath the full, unobstructed dome of the desert sky. Salim, with Khalid's eager assistance, makes his own slow way up the narrow stone stairway, settling onto a low mattress near the roof's edge, from where the whole darkened valley spreads out below. Other rooftops, other small lamplit courtyards, the dark shapes of the date palm gardens below the village, and beyond all of it, the mountains, now now nearly invisible against the night sky, except where their jagged silhouette blocks out a band of otherwise star-filled darkness. Aisha and Mariam follow more slowly, carrying a final small tray, a last pot of tea, mint this time rather than coffee, its bright, clean fragrance rising into the cool night air. You climb the stairway too, if you'd like, and find your own place among the gathered mattresses, the whole family settling gradually into the particular unhurried stillness of a household preparing together for sleep beneath the open sky, the sound of the village at night. If you lie quietly now on this rooftop, beneath this enormous scattering of stars, this is what you would hear from somewhere below: the soft, intermittent murmur of another family's evening conversation, carried faintly upward through the still night air, the words themselves indistinct, just the warm, low rhythm of voices winding down toward their own rest, the occasional soft bleat of a goat, settling in its pen-shifting position against the cool night ground, very faintly, from somewhere beyond the village's edge, the steady, patient murmur of the Falaj Channel, still carrying its mountain water down through the darkened gardens below, exactly as it has carried it, without pause, for night after night, year after year, across more centuries than this family's own recorded memory extends. A dog somewhere across the valley, barking twice, briefly, before falling silent again, and beneath all of it, the wind, moving gently across the open rooftop, down from the high mountain passes, carrying the faint, mingled scent of dust and date palm, and the last fading traces of wood smoke from a dozen scattered evening fires, now mostly burned down to their own quiet embers. This is the sound of an Omani mountain village settling into its night, quiet, unhurried, layered with the soft, accumulated rhythms of a community that has settled into exactly this same evening pattern, in exactly this same way, for longer than anyone now living here can fully account for. The stories, before sleep fully claims the rooftop, there is, in this family as in countless others across this region, a final small tradition, Khalid, lying beside his grandfather, asking, in the particular insistent but sleepy voice of a child fighting his own approaching exhaustion, for a story. Salim obliges, as he has obliged on perhaps thousands of similar nights across the boy's short life, his voice settling into the slow, unhurried cadence of someone who has told these particular stories so many times that the words themselves have become almost a form of breathing. He tells tonight a story his own grandfather once told him of a traveling trader many generations ago who lost his way crossing the high mountain passes during a sudden winter storm and was guided safely back to the village by nothing more than the faint, distant sound of the Falaj water, which he followed, step by careful step through the darkness and the blowing snow, until its sound led him, finally, to the very gate of this same village, where he was given shelter and dates and a place by the fire, exactly as any traveler arriving at this village's gate has always been given. Khalid, beside his grandfather, has heard this particular story many times before, and yet listens now with exactly the same quiet, rapt attention he brought to it the very first time, his eyes growing heavier with each unhurried sentence, until, somewhere before the story's gentle conclusion, his breathing has already settled into the slow, even rhythm of sleep. Salim, noticing this, lowers his voice further still, finishing the story's last few lines almost as a whisper, more for his own quiet satisfaction than for any listening audience, before settling back himself against his own mattress, his prayer beads resting finally still in his open palm. You are drifting. You are still on that rooftop, in a sense, or resting somewhere very like it. The mud brick village settling into its own quiet night around you. The goats quiet in their pen below. The Falaj water still moving steadily through the darkened gardens. The whole valley holding its breath in its own patient way, until tomorrow's dawn light returns to warm these same mountains once again. Salim's prayer beads rest still in his open hand. Khalid sleeps soundly beside him, the day's small adventures already folding themselves into dream. Aisha and Maryam have settled too, their own quiet evening's work concluded. The braziers coals down in the courtyard below burning low, and steady toward their own eventual rest. All of it here, all of it holding you. Your breathing has slowed to match this whole valley's own unhurried, patient rhythm, the rhythm of a family and a whole village that has learned across many generations exactly how much genuine warmth and welcome can be built from nothing more than earth, water, patience, and the simple, repeated act of opening a door to whoever arrives at it. This is what a slow evening in an Omani mud brick village offers, if you allow yourself to receive it, even only in imagination, even only for this one quiet hour before your own sleep arrives. That the oldest, simplest materials, earth, water, shade, and welcome, are very often more than enough. That a house built by hand from the ground it stands on can hold 4 generations and still have room, without hesitation, for one more guest at the evening meal. You do not need to build anything tonight. You can simply rest the way this whole village rests, its thick mud walls releasing the day's last stored warmth slowly into the cool night air, trusting that tomorrow's sun will return exactly as it always has, to warm them through once again. The last things. The village rests now in full darkness, its mud walls the color of the surrounding mountains, indistinguishable in this hour from the hillside itself. The Falaj water continues its steady, patient course through the gardens below, exactly as it has every single night for more centuries than anyone has precisely counted. The goats sleep quietly in their pen. The brazier's coals settle slowly toward ash in the courtyard below, and the date palm at its center stands still, and dark against the brilliant scattered stars. Salim sleeps on the rooftop, his prayer beads loose in his hand. Khalid sleeps soundly beside him, dreaming, perhaps, of foxes among the rocks. Aisha and Maryam rest nearby, their hands finally still after a long day's quiet, careful work. The wider valley holds its scattered lamplit windows, one by one now going dark. Each house's family settling into this same unhurried rhythm of rest. The whole village's centuries-deep welcome held quietly, patiently, until morning. The mountains stand dark against the night sky, holding their own ancient watch over this small, mud-walled village, exactly as they have held it since long before any of these walls were ever shaped from the earth at their feet. The village rests in darkness, its mud walls the color of the mountains around it. The Falaj water moves on, steady and patient, carrying mountain water through the sleeping gardens. The goats are quiet in their pen. The coals burn low in the courtyard. The date palm stands still against the stars. Salim is sleeping, his prayer beads loose in his open hand. Khalid sleeps soundly beside him, dreaming of foxes among the rocks. Aisha and Maryam rest nearby, their hands finally still. The wider valley holds its lamplit windows, each one going dark now, one by one, each house settling into the same quiet rest. The mountains stand dark above the village, holding their ancient watch, as they always have. You are held tonight too, by this same patient, ancient rhythm, by a whole village's quiet trust that morning will return, to warm the walls again, to open the gate again, to begin again. You do not need to build anything tonight. You only need to rest, the way the mud walls rest, holding the day's warmth gently, releasing it slowly into the dark. You are safe. You are warm. You are held in the village, beneath the mountains, in the cool, clear desert dark. The walls will keep their warmth until dawn. The mountains will keep their watch. And you can simply rest. Good night, dear friend. Sleep well, sleep deeply. Good night, and